All right, we'll give everyone a few minutes to join. That was started. And so we'll get started at 5 after, no matter what. All right, let's go ahead and go. We have quorum. I knew there would be a couple of people missing, and there are a few substitutions today. Is somebody substituting for NVIDIA?
Yeah, Owen's here.
Okay, so I didn't see the notification, but I'll put you in. Just give me a second. That's fine. Okay. All right, so I have a few agenda items listed that we need to discuss. Are there any other agenda items or topics people want to go through? All right, so we'll have a fairly light agenda today. All right, so launching the Dash collaboration is still pending. So we still intend to do that, but just haven't done it yet. That was more of an announcement. Second one is Sridhar sent a survey link in email. Check your junk mail, and make sure that you vote on the website style so that the Linux Foundation team can get going. Again, more of an announcement. I don't think there's any real discussion there that we need. If so, raise your hand or just speak up. We have, small enough group today. You can just speak up. Okay, I want to discuss the DPU boot from a overall direction point of view, but we'll hold that one. Same thing with equipment details. SmartNIC Summit. The call for proposals deadline is tomorrow. Oh, I have the wrong date in. And we have the half-day session set. We will have a short section in one of the plenary sessions, but we need additional, SmartNIC Summit is open to additional individuals submitting proposals, either on OPI related things or just DPU topics in general. So talk to your teams, talk to your companies, see if people want to submit. The link is simple for the call for papers. Paul, anything you want to add there?
I've submitted a general overview panel session, kind of an Ask Me Anything. And so, yeah, so I've submitted one of those, but they're looking for technical discussions, demos, deep dives into what we're doing, why we're doing it. And that's this group that can pull that off.
Exactly. All right. So, I don't expect anyone to volunteer here, but put your proposals in. It's a pretty easy submission process.
Yeah, it's a very simple 5-minute submission process. I mean, it signs you up for more than 5 minutes worth of work, but yes, it's a very easy submission process. And if you do, just let me know. Hit me up on Slack and let me know what your topic is so we can track that. I'm been on the committee to decide what goes in the summit. So having a list of those that we want in there when we meet again with the SmartNIC Summit Planning Committee would be great. Thank you. That's it.
Right. Any discussion or questions on that? I think it's pretty straightforward. All right, let's do the lab one next. So we need to get the actual specs. So Venkat and Murcha, have you guys received compatibility matrix? What servers will take which DPUs from the various vendors?
So I got a quote from HP and one from Dell, one for Pensando, one for Bluefield 2. Just to keep it balanced, I believe both HP and Dell can provide both Pensando and Bluefield, but one and one from each. I put in chat and I keep asking if the CPU and memory and so on are okay. I have not quite got an answer besides something from Boris. So I would like people to provide feedback that the configuration is okay. We can select basically any CPU, I think Xeon scalable 3rd gen or something like this, or any amount of memory and storage. So if people can provide feedback, sure.
So again, if you're on the TSC here, talk to your teams and get feedback from Archia so we can get narrowed down on the first round of equipment and get a solid proposal together. So help out here. As I say, get your teams together. If you have a DPU, and even if you have a DPU that we couldn't buy one of yet, you're a startup or something, look at the server specs and verify that your DPU will be able to fit within the PCI slot space, additional power and cooling specs of that server, because we don't really want to waste any servers going forward.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
I have received from Marvell and NVIDIA the part numbers that they suggest go in the lab, and from NVIDIA the servers that they recommend that are certified or going to be certified. I'm still missing that from AMD Pensando and from Intel. I think the last discussion from Intel was their intent was to send an entire server DPU, a host and DPU combo that was already set up and ready to go, but I haven't received the specs on that.
All right. So Gerald, is that still your guys' intent?
Yes, that's our intent.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll sync with Dan when he gets back week after next.
Okay.
And confirm on that, at least on the specs, at least.
Excellent.
Perfect. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then for NVIDIA, we're almost certainly going to want Bluefield 3, which will be coming out in the time frame that's reasonable for putting in the lab. So, Oren, that makes sense, right? Because Bluefield 3 has many more ARM cores, and
Yeah, correct.
right. So I think we want to settle on Bluefield 3 if we can for OPI, because we could have a Bluefield 2 as well, no problem there. But I think Bluefield 3 is going to be a very standard DPU once it gets released, and for a few years.
So what's the timeline to get them?
To get
That,
the cards or to get the part numbers?
To get the cards. I mean, they are in production or something. So
yeah, so I think we'll build out the lab starting we'll probably start in about 3 months realistically, and that'll go on in pieces for maybe indefinitely, right? Because we don't want to buy a massive amount of stuff and have it sit there, right? So we're going to buy some stuff, start using it, figure out what we need, buy some more. That's the smart way to build this out. I mean, we need some minimum installation, but I don't see the timelines working out. So I guess Murchio, Vincat, Paul, we should map out a lab build out timeline, unless we have one already. That's okay.
We had a really rough one, but not it wasn't a purchase this server on Thursday and this server on Friday and order this DPU on Monday. It wasn't that detailed. It was, and about here, we'll start ordering hardware.
Right. And what was that?
Which is now.
Yeah. Okay. And then, start ordering hardware. So we have some flexibility, and we could always wait for, push some purchase out if there was a good, like there's a card, going into production. And did I hear correctly? Have we heard from AMD on this?
We have not heard from AMD on this. I've asked Vipin to find the right people, and he at one point found the right people, but they never answered. So it would be great if they answered again.
So, Yeah.
And ARM is planning on sending a server at least, but they don't have the specs yet.
okay. All right, let's run down Pensando, AMD Pensando, and I know we have there's lots of multi-way individual NDAs, so we can lean on people can lean on them directly. You leverage and lean on them directly as well, because I think having the cross section of DPUs will be valuable to the
Oh, yes.
individual company as well as OPI. All right. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, any other proposals on actually ordering the lab equipment and getting it up and running? And even if we had one server and one DPU to start, we can now learn how to work with Hurricane Electric, right? Because there's going to be a learning curve both on their side and our side, and it's going to take a while. It's going to take a little while to get software up and running and things like that. Because we have, because again, if we're going to do, we have to have management system up and running as well. So if we had a management server and again, we don't need HA yet. We don't need highly available redundant systems yet. We just need to get something set up and running so that we can get the again, Hurricane Electric's gonna be interesting to work with. So we if we know something for sure that we're going to start with, we could get rolling. All right.
Yeah. And in the chat, Sridhar's been mentioning that we've received the statement of work from Hurricane Electric, and the team will review that. And when we get 2 okays on it, he will sign it and send it off.
Recording in progress.
All right. All right. So that was that topic. If there's no more that was good discussion. All right. The last topic that I had is a two-part. I put it down as DPU boot. Do we need multiple approaches or agreeing to a single approach better? But I want to say that the work in the all 4 of our working groups plus the outreach group has been excellent, right? Those calls, we have very good engagement, people putting their ideas forward in a coherent way, good discussion on the ideas. We're starting to get things written down in a good way or submit, and then the code contributions are continuing. So the engagement level in the technical areas that we're working on is up, and that's good to see. So I don't know if anyone has any comment in general about the working groups and progress and engagement, but I see it improving. And again, we have a good cross section of companies and a good cross section of input. So any general comments on that anyone wants to make, or questions or thoughts on how to do it even better? Okay, good. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, this is the option 1, 2, and 3 that has been being discussed in the in GitHub.
Okay, so now on the DPU boot.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so now on the DPU boot itself, we have several options for how to deal with DPU boot, and they're all getting laid out. There are a couple of markdown files that are nice descriptions, and really there are 3 core approaches, as Paul was saying, option 1, 2, and 3. And I don't want to go into the details of those options, but my question here, and this is where, we're probably going to have to make a steering decision, is do we want in the end more than one because there are separate legitimate use cases, separate legitimate ways to do it that there's no, no single way works? Or do we really want to drive to consolidate on a single way so there's no ambiguity and everyone does it the same? And again, we may have some legacy stuff where it has to be, several different ways for things that have already been built. But as new generations of DPUs come out, what do we want them to conform to? And so, my take after reading the stuff and thinking about it is we probably need more than one fundamental approach, because I think the trade-offs, I don't know if we're going to be able to consolidate all the trade-offs into one sort of best approach or force fit one approach, but there's a lot of appeal to having things only done one way in standards. And in places where you give people options, it's sometimes not as good. Although in this case, I think you probably have at least two core ways of approaching boot. I don't know. Thoughts on that? So I think, Paul, you were going to comment on this.
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was the discussion that we
Yeah,
were
that's
having.
anyway. So, and again, if we don't have any opinions, that's fine. But I just wanted to put that in your head to go read those if you haven't, and go think about it. So I know, Dan Daly and Boris have been having a good discussion on that, and others have chimed in. So any thoughts on that, or do you guys want to go think about it? Because this will end up coming up for a vote, one way, in one form or another. And I guess there's a corollary question: is this a place where we have to effectively write a where the output is becomes a standard?
Joe, this is Joel Moses from F5. I'm just sitting in for Tim Michaels, but it almost seems to me is the boot mechanism, is that what the provisioning team is working on?
Yeah, the life cycle and provisioning. That's
Yeah.
How do the DPUs interact with the BMC and the host OS and the PCI bus for boot?
It might be good to ask that working group to do a list of pros and cons, just so that we understand the benefits and drawbacks of certain approaches. I think one that's under discussion right now is SCTP. Is that correct? For boot and provisioning?
Yeah, no, this is the actual low level boot process. Who holds off who,
Right.
what the signals are for going back and forth, that sort of stuff.
Okay. I
So-
mean, my gut likes a single approach because it means that you can always count on certain things to be true out of the instantiation of the unit. But I know that some of these boot mechanisms have to do verification of the installed equipment as part of the boot sequence. And it might be good to consider multiple, but I mean, I'm a little outside of this, but it may mean that the TSC needs to dig into the pros and cons a little deeper.
Right. Well, so again, we're going to be almost certainly be asked to vote, which is why I'm bringing this up as a topic to pay attention to.
Okay, looks like Paul sent out where the discussion is taking place. Maybe that's.
Yeah, there's a PR that discusses all of this. So, and it does have pros and cons, and if you go to the discussion for this PR, you can find all kinds of history here, what's going on.
Right. Yeah. So in-band PCIe, driver ready check, and then out of band via the platform BMC are the three approaches. And again, part of this is, so one of the first principles here that we have to care about is who's in charge of the system, right? So is the DPU considered a peripheral, or is it considered an isolation point for the server? And we've talked about it as both in OPI overall. And when we were forming OPI, we laid out properties and requirements of what a DPU is that were on both sides of that line. And for boot, you might want to hold the host OS and primary CPUs off until the DPU is fully booted, and then it controls the boot, much like a BMC would in some sense, or it cooperates with the BMC, such that it essentially manages the server's connection to the rest of the world. On the other hand, you might want to just consider it a super NIC with offloads. So that's why, and there are details of how people built their DPUs along those lines. And there's also a question of, are people violating PCIe, and do they need to fix it, or do we need to get a provision added to the PCIe specs and take something into the PCIe SIG? Okay, so if you haven't looked at all of this, this is really good work so far. But we're going to have to make again, we're going to have to start making some decisions on direction. Yeah, so there's a couple of pages of discussion and agree that the life cycle. But again, this is really just a heads up if you haven't looked at it yet.
So which is the agreed approach so far?
Yeah, we haven't agreed on the approach yet. That's the thing.
No, the question was, are we okay with the one approach, or?
No, that's my question to you guys. Are we okay if we try to say that to be OPI compliant, you have to do it single way, or are we going to end up needing multiple ways because there are multiple legitimate approaches that have trade-offs that we don't want to give up the trade-offs? That's the question. So it's a question, not an answer.
I understand.
Yeah. Oren, does that make sense? That I'm.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are multiple independent systems, at least on the first look at it, right? So we will end up with multiple choices, even if we don't do that in the short term. I think there are clear use cases for host being in control and the DPU being in control. So I think eventually we will anyway go there, and then I think there could be a clear way we can't change what is already out there in terms of how different people have implemented it. So if it is only looking forward from here, where we define OPI compatibility or compliance, I think even if we start with one, we may go to multiple. I think, again, I have to see where is the latest update. I looked at it a while back. So it's good for all of us to take a look and come back to discuss here.
That's right. Okay, so that was really a heads up that you know, we're going to have to be informed to vote on this decision. You know, and obviously you'll get input from your teams, but ultimately I think this is going to come down to a vote, and there may be, you know, a couple or three votes around this for what do we want to agree to as OPI. So again, this was a heads up. Go pay attention to this. The work is good. Progress is being made. But, you know, there are going to be some decision points. Make sense to everyone?
Yep.
And then we're going to have the similar thing in the API group, but we're not quite at the point to say, hey, here's kind of the choices, especially around networking. You know, here's solid choices. You know, go make a decision. I think the use cases that we have coming up are going to be going to illuminate a lot of that. So the use case work will highlight and drive some of those API trade-offs. But that group's been working well also. Okay. All right. Any final thoughts? I don't want to drag this on. I agree with that, Joel. So if you look in chat, Joel put a comment that I agree with as well. All right. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay. Again, if we have topics for next week, let me know. Just one little housekeeping thing. I'm going to be absent on the 13th and the 20th of April. So I'll need someone to we'll need someone else to run this call on the 13th and the 20th of April. I'll be here for the next two calls, but those two calls I'm going to miss.
Yeah, I can manage the minutes. Somebody can drive it. I think last time Joel did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, just a heads up. All right. I will. Yeah.
Joe, one more thing. Sorry, I
No.
forgot to mention by the time it was decided. Can I just one thing I wanted to share is okay? Can I do now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So this topic was brought up by HP also. Like, I'll just quickly share my screen if that's okay.
Of course.
So okay, let me open the repo. Yeah, so if you see in this repo, right, there are some contents like recordings, meeting minutes, and other things. For this, and its parent repo has a Apache license, right? Apache.o license. So the issue is it an oversight, and do you want to apply the Apache license to these contents also? And as the technical charter has already approved Creative CC by 4.0 license, I checked with the LF legal also. It is better to add that license CC by 4.0 license file in these kind of folders to ensure that that license apply to this folder, and for the rest of the other folders, the main Apache 2.0 license apply. So we just have to, and I want to hear from TSC if this approach is okay. In any such kind of folders, we add a CC by 4.0 license file so that the Apache 2.0 license don't apply to those kind of contents.
And you want the license for the like the markdown file content? I'm missing the point here.
No, so there are some, for example, present the slides and some notes and meeting minutes and recordings.
Yeah,
So,
so
those kind of contents, yeah.
okay, so you want a Creative Commons license for those kind of contents.
Correct.
I
It's
don't-
better that, yeah.
I don't have an objection to that, especially if Linux Foundation Legal recommends that. Anybody else have an opinion? I mean, I think that's a reasonable thing.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable thing as well. We need to make sure that what we put in that folder is only stuff we want managed by the CC by 4 license.
Right. Agree with that as well. So can you send an email summarizing this to the OPI general list
Yeah.
and everyone subscribe to that, Sridhar?
I will do that. I will do that.
And then I'll tack on that. Yeah, we need to do that. And do we have the license file itself that we need to put?
Yeah, so the link is also in our technical charter. I will also add that content there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's yeah. So put a reminder that we need to put a Creative Commons license for all non code contributions.
Code. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and so anything can we put that just in the root directory and say it applies to all non, if a different license doesn't overload, or do we have to put it in every folder that has non-code content?
The legal suggestion is to in every folder where you have such kind of
All right,
contents.
then put that in an email and I send it to the TSC and the general mailing
Yes.
list, even if people get it twice that way, and we'll start enforcing it.
Good, good. And the good thing is the charter has already approved CC by 4.0, so we are good. We don't have to modify the charter in this case.
No, that's good. We just have to start using it. So send that.
Correct.
That's a great reminder. All right. Anything else from anyone?
Okay, got it.
All right. Think about future topics that we want to talk about in TSC as well. And with that, I will end the call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.